the next portion of the peripheral nervous system is the spinal nerves. Obviously, if the cranial nerves came off of the brain, the spinal nerves come off of the spinal cord. So there are 31 pairs, one for each segment of the spinal cord. Now, they have names in general, but we usually do the numbering system as we go along, cervical ones and so forth, so on with different numbers. And then as they go along and branch out, we give them different names for different regions that they go to. So it's kind of like a road system at that point. They start branching off, and this one goes here, so it's named this. This one goes here, so it's named this. So the first are the 8 pair of cervical. Then there are 12 pair of thoracic. Then there are 5 pairs of lumbar. And then there are 5 pairs of sacral and 1 pair of coccygeal. So these are the branches that come off of the spinal cord, and they branch down and go into it. Do they correspond perfectly to every one of the exact vertebrae they're on? Not necessarily, but they're pretty close. Now, the spinal roots, these are the portions where you connect them into the spinal cord. They're actually coming in and attaching to the spinal cord in roots, just like a tree anchor, and the roots anchor the tree into the ground. These anchor them into the spinal cord. The dorsal roots contain the sensory fibers, whereas the ventral roots contain the motor fibers. So they do branch around both sides. Those 2 roots coming around, and they can separate the signals on each side of the spinal cord. So you can see here, these groups here, the cervical, thoracic, the lumbar, sacrococcygeal, they are numbered as we do the same thing we do when we deal with our vertebrae. Now, there are ganglia again. Ganglia are groups of nerve cells where they work together. There's a reason why that helps out quite a bit. If you have a bunch of nerves all together and they can work together, it makes the job easier. It also gives you a chance if one of them's not working, the other ones can pick the slack to the concept. These contain sensory nerve cell bodies, these dorsal root ganglia. So they're containing the nerves, the neuron cell bodies for sensory nerves. A plexus. A plexus is a group of spinal nerves. So if they come out of the body, out from the spinal cord, they'll come out, they'll branch apart, and then they'll come back together, and then they'll branch out again. And the reason why they come back together is it serves as a redundancy point. So if you have 2 branches coming like this, and they both branch out, if this branch gets broken here, then hopefully this one can carry on and then also split off and go that way as well and take up the slack. It may take a while, but hopefully it can do that. It can help you to do that. It gives you the concept of having redundancy. So the advantage of those plexuses, or plexus, is to have redundancy. Some of the major ones, the cervical plexus, obviously the name implies it's up in the cervical region. It's located beneath the sternocleidomastoid, and it basically branches off the first 4 cervical nerves. As they branch off up here in the back of the neck, they join together to form a plexus that helps you to send signals off from there. Some of the nerves that come off it, the phrenic nerves. These run in your diaphragm. They help you to breathe. So that's one of the reasons why you can break your neck in the lower portion of the neck. You'd be paralyzed from the ability to use your muscles and things like that below the neck, but you're still breathing, you're still doing things like that because nerves like this actually branch off much higher in the neck. If you break it right at the top of the spinal cord, then that's not going. You're basically going to cut this off. But this allows you to take that nerve, go off, and then go down the body and bypass that so that people are still able to breathe, they're still able to do those kind of things because of this nerve running off the side. So you can see where here your first 4 are formed together, they form a plexus off the side here. The brachial plexus formed by the C5 to C8, and then also the L1 has another branch that comes back and reconnects. This supplies the skin and muscles of the upper arm, forearm, and hand with their impulse. It also has the ability of these nerves to work. Your musculocutaneous, your ulnar, your radial, your median, and your axillary. Your axillary nerve goes in your armpit. When it's activated, some people are very sensitive to it, you're ticklish. Or your ulnar, you smack down on it, it's what you call your funny bone, you're actually hitting that one. It actually comes off of this plexus. So the signals are coming back on that nerve towards the plexus up to the brain. Intercostal nerves are their own separate group. The reason why is because each of those branch out basically to each of the different ribs. So there's no real need to have a plexus because you're right there. They're not going further in the body, they're not going out to other spots. They're basically going straight to where the ribs are. So they're going to go from the thoracic spinal nerves, and they don't form a plexus, they just go straight up to where your ribs are. Your lumbrosacral plexus down lower in the back. Many people have problems with this one because a lot of the nerves down there get damaged and cause problems with lower back pain, lower leg pain, things like that. So the L2 through L5 and all these sacral vertebrae are formed into this plexus. It supplies the muscles and the skin of my abdominal wall, my pelvic wall, my thighs, my legs, and my feet. So people have lower back problems. People have problems with their digestive systems or digestive pains and stuff like that. Stuff like that can also be going through this particular one. Not always, but they can. People who have issues with muscular problems on the sides of the body that have pain all the time. There are a lot of nerves that run off of this that are very well known. So for example, femoral nerve, because it's going to go down your femur. Your obturator, which goes through your hip. Your sciatic nerve, which is the most common one people are familiar with, because it runs down the back of your leg. And so people who have sciatic problems or sciatica means it's going to cause pain all the way down from the lower back, all the way down to their legs, because it sends that signal back and forth. It's receiving information, causing problems as it becomes irritated. So you can see, again, here's where all your thoracic ones just basically come straight out. They don't form a plexus. Here's my brachial plexus. And then here's my lumbosacral down here where you can see how large the sciatic nerve is running down the back. It's one of the bigger nerves causing problems that way.